And remember, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent this kalam on human hearts, on the heart of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and preserved it in his heart. And then it was conveyed through the Sahabas and Tabi'een and Tabi'een and righteous predecessors all the way to us until the end of time onto human hearts. Understand that responsibility and that weight and that honor. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala highlights what sort of an effect it is supposed to have on your heart, as he highlights in the following parable in Surah Al-Hashr. Had we sent down this Quran on a mountain, you would surely have seen it humbling itself and rent asunder by the fear of Allah. Such are the parables which we put forward to mankind, that they may reflect. These living mountains would have burst with khashya, with awe and fear, and with the depth of these divine words of Allah had the Quran been revealed unto them. These hard rocks, granite, sedimentary rock, igneous rocks, solid mountains would have crumbled with khashya, and they remain in a state of sujood towards their Rabb in his submission. But what has this divine book done on our hearts? Are our hearts harder than the rocks and the mountains, that we remain unaffected, oblivious, ignorant of such a kalam, and even challenge it at times? No, we need to let it affect us. Learn, study, absorb its fahm and depth, and let it bend you, make you submissive. It should change our previous paradigms about what is important in life, our worldviews, our concepts, our relationships with people, our kindness, our humility, our ikhlaq, our ability to forgive and forget, our ability to be humble and giving, a shift in our philosophies back to the natural fitrah, our content of children's education. Yet we see challenges of these divine orders every day in all these systems around us. Do any of us stand up to defend the word and guidance of Allah against this wave and tsunami of new trends around us, of this educational bylaws and trends and social norms that are displeasing and bring the wrath of Allah? These mountains, these huge rocks could not bear this kalam, and yet human hearts have not been moved. Our amal, our deeds will only change if our thought process is pure and clear and changes for the better. And this Quran is given to us to do that. This Quran could break the mountains, render them asunder. If this Quran doesn't break our ill paradigms or melt our hearts and fix us, then the only thing left to melt us could be the fire of hell. Na'udhu billah. And Allah has pre-warned us of this time and time again. In fact, it is the one that lets himself bend, sometimes even break in front of this Quran. He breaks down that, where am I going? What have I been doing? What's going on around me? He cries and breaks sometimes and rebuilds himself stronger than before. And so we must reconstruct ourselves and our priorities and our thoughts whilst we can. But some people only reconstruct and break things that they feel are according to their conveniences. But what they don't realize is that khashya comes when we completely give in to these miraculous words of Allah, and we enter Islam fi silmi kafa completely. Sometimes Quran can totally change your outlook, make us a different person. But remember, it was that person that you needed to become. And for that, the Quran has a weight. Will you be Ahlul Quran? Will you bear this weight and live by it? Will you be the carriers and bearers of Quran that day? As it may break you and your previous paradigms, but it will reconstruct you into the strongest and best person you have ever been, pleasing to Allah, the Creator and Malik. Or will you remain scared of any changes, so fixed in your ways that you run away, and our kids run away from its message, frightened? Or are they scared like donkeys running from good advice? Allah says in Surah Al-Muddathir, then what is wrong with them, the polytheists and disbelievers, that they turn away from receiving admonition as if they were frightened wild donkeys fleeing from a hunter or a lion or a beast of prey? But where will we run? Where will our children run to find shelter away from this message, from this kalam? No, they're only running back to Allah, and they don't realize it. So Allah says, let them have their fun, as ahead of them is that which will melt them and is prepared for their meeting, as they did not melt nor soften nor cry with his words. Allah says in Surah Al-Ghashiyah, verily to us will be their return, then verily for us will be their reckoning. Inna ilayna iyabahum, thumma inna alayna hisabahum. People, older, youngsters, youth, why don't they see the miracles around them? Why don't they absorb this kalam, these divine words? They don't hear the message. May Allah protect us from this immense and ugly pathology and illness. And yet they use this wealth and health and free time in this world, but they do nothing, but rather they gather for themselves a terrible final abode. Allah says in Surah Al-Inshiqaq, and when the Quran is recited to them, they fall not prostrate. Nay, those who believe, disbelieve, belie Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and whatever he brought, the Quran and Islamic monotheism, and Allah knows best what they gather of good and bad news. So announce to them a painful torment. So ask yourselves, is the meat on our back tougher than a mountain? Do we have a tongue that doesn't mention our Rabb or doesn't have time for it, whilst these huge mountains are in sujood, in khushu, in awe of their Rabb, in constant tasbih? Shouldn't we be aware of His kalam, of His word? Shouldn't we submit and prostrate? Shouldn't we read a little of the Quran every day with meaning and let it work on our souls and soften us and satiate us? Allah expresses how sad these people are and how they will soon realize their reality of where they are actually heading. So remember, if trials and tribulations and even zillat, humiliation, come your way in this dunya, such that at times you're standing alone with no one to pick you up or offer you support, maybe that was your point, your calling, your reminder, your take care package from Allah to return to Him, to cry, to melt, to let your heart open to Him and His love and mercy and rahmat before it's too late. A moment will see khair in all things that are distant in His way, and will see all situations as an opportunity to bend and get closer and nearer to His Rabb and prostrate and fall in sujood and ask for His forgiveness and mercy and help. And when a calamity comes, 4 steps are there to take. Either you complain that why me, and you're angry with your Rabb or feel hopeless, or you vent it out on other people and you complain all the time. This is not liked or allowed. Number 2, you are quiet and you do sabr and you let things settle and you don't say anything that causes harm. This is a better level. And better than that is number 3, you are razi. You accept what came your way and you know there must be a reason and some khair in it for you, and you trust Allah in all matters. And number 4 is the best. You do shukr along with sabr, that Allah gave you another opportunity to reflect and turn back to Him. So when you see someone going through a hard time, never judge them. It could be that that moment is able to take a harder exam than you are, and Allah knows it and therefore subjects him or her to more and more tests to give them a higher qualification than you in the dunya and the akhirah. Although we always ask for ease and afiyah, but when tests come, the moment recognizes the opportunity of learning and growth and resilience and sabr and enhancement of taqwa and iman that comes with it, and the possibility of the chance to have his sins forgiven. But we do ask for afiyah in our du'as and Allah's rahmat and forgiveness. And so fear your Rabb and pray He doesn't take to account the things we or our families or our children or our ummah have done out of neglect and out of stupidity. And that He forgives and has mercy upon all of us and our families and extended zuriyat progeny that we will be attached to on that day.